Manafort lies, gets booted from his plea agreement. Never fear, Cohen is here. How's Sean Hannity feel about this? Mr. Client number 3. Not good. It's not good for anyone involved. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.
Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio. Remember, we got Dyze in your house at the end of the week. We got the J Parks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JParks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no joke.
Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is Friday, it is midnight, and we are back with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house, exclusively here on East Coast Radio. That's East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. And what we do here in the myriad of podcasts that come out on East Coast Radio is we fight fascism. That's what we try to do, and we do it one podcast at a time. We don't do it with violence. We don't do it with trolling people on the internet. We don't do any of that. We see the facts, we see what they are, and we lay them all out there. And we try to decide if a rising authoritarian regime is what this country is actually heading towards. Now, we have a lot going on in terms of Russia and the Robert Mueller investigation. So let's first talk about what I recorded an entire podcast about 3 hours ago. So I woke up extra early, right? I woke up extra early on a Thursday. It's Thursday today. I'm recording this right now, but it's still Thursday. The plan is to have it out at midnight. I might toss it out. The plan was to have the podcast I recorded this morning out at midnight. But unfortunately, that focused all on Manafort, and then as soon as I hit stop, I walked downstairs and I saw the breaking news that Michael Cohen is pleading to telling false statements to Congress when it has to do with Russia and business ties and Trump's business ties. Remember? No loans, no ties, no nothing. Oh. Remember? I don't know Felix Sater? Oh. Alright, so let's get into the week that was. The week started with Jerome Corsi, the guy that wrote the book, Where's the Birth Certificate? The guy that started this not started the birther movement, but plunged the birther movement into the mainstream. This guy used to work for InfoWars. This guy was going to take a plea from Mueller for lying to Mueller, lying to the FBI, lying to federal investigators. News broke he was going to take that plea. Then news broke that he wasn't taking the plea because he doesn't want to say that he willingly told lies. Okay. Corsi was he was an intermediary, if not many intermediaries, that were the go-between for Julian Assange and Roger Stone. And you either believe that Jerome Corsi was the guy that told Roger Stone that Julian Assange told him about the emails and that he passed along that information to Roger Stone. You either believe that, or you believe that Jerome Corsi figured out that the October surprise on August 2nd, figured out that the October surprise was going to be John Podesta's emails. And he figured that out on a plane, on vacation, with his wife. He just figured that out. Could you believe it? Just divine intervention. And there's no way that anybody should believe that garbage. But that's what he's going with, and he's willing to go to jail for it. Also, breaking this week, is that Roger Stone had late-night calls with Trump like every night in 2016, even after Roger Stone was fired from the campaign. That's interesting. It's almost like somebody told Trump when the email drop was going to happen. Okay. Also, sidebar it, Manafort met with Assange, according to The Guardian reporting this week. And again, The Guardian is, we're just going to say, The Guardian is the only outlet reporting this at this time. So let's just say that according to The Guardian, according to their sources, Paul Manafort was in Ecuador, was at the embassy, was in the London embassy talking to Assange multiple times. It wasn't like one time. So we got Stone, who technically was fired from the campaign. We have Manafort, who was the chair of the campaign. They both met with Assange. They both had contact with Assange about leaking stolen documents stolen by a hostile foreign power to influence an election and subvert democracy. That's what happened. So you take that, and then you take Manafort deciding Manafort didn't decide, I'm sorry. Mueller decided that Manafort broke his plea agreement by lying about business dealings. Business dealings in the Ukraine. The Ukraine, which has their ships seized by Russian naval ships right now, and Russia has a blockade on Ukrainian ports. More on that in a second. We have all this. Manafort's going to be sentenced Friday morning. He's due in court for sentencing Friday morning. As this is coming down, Michael Cohen, after 70 hours of conversations with Robert Mueller, remember he was there on Veterans Day. Veterans Day, Michael Cohen was in D.C., and Robert Mueller's office was open. So we had Michael Cohen plead guilty to lying, giving false statements to Congress concerning the Russia investigation, including Trump Tower Moscow, which was still in development They were still trying to get it done in 2016. At a time where Trump said that he had no business dealings in Russia. Felix Sater, he said he didn't know who this guy was. Well, he knows who you were, and he's got a Trump Organization business card. And he also was working with your boy Michael Cohen to get that Trump Tower Moscow going. Today, Deutsche Bank was raided by 170 law enforcement officials. Deutsche Bank is the bank that gave Trump money when no other bank would lend him money. Deutsche Bank is the bank that Justice Anthony Kennedy's son works for, who's friends with Don Jr. Deutsche Bank is one of the banks that Vladimir Putin likes to use to launder money. Facts. So what is... I don't want to be like a simpleton, but... Yes, collusion? If it walks like collusion and talk, yeah, you get the point. It's collusion. How many, like, listen to this, like, Manafort, Stone, Michael Cohen, Jerome Corsi, Randy Credico, Sam Nunberg? Who are these losers? I've never seen a crew of bigger losers than this before. I mean, I know Steve Schmidt has said this on TV before, but there's such a collective group of lowlives, you know, that are combined into this entity. And Randy Credico has deleted his Twitter account, but last night he was laying out some tweets, taking shots at Trump. Randy Credico tweeted last night that, he's like, Roger Stone has 37 years of dirt on you and your sexual deviance. It was unspurred by anyone. And it has since been deleted. I'm actually going to see if I can find it right now. Okay, I don't have it. But either way, hilarious. It's hilarity. It was Credico 2016, but he has since deleted his account. Probably sobered up. But Chris Matthews said it the other day. Stone's the type of guy that digs up dirt that you didn't even know you had, that no one even knows where you would get it, for the sole purpose of having you in his pocket for life. Like, Stone, Roger Stone is probably, there's a good chance that Roger Stone is going to spill the beans to stay out of jail. He just wants to see how close he can get to jail before he has to spill the beans. Roger Stone, I'll say that I've said this repeatedly, and I will continue to say it. Roger Stone has a Richard Nixon tattoo on his back. Roger Stone thinks Richard Nixon is a hero. Paul Manafort did lobbying work in the Ukraine for a Ukrainian presidential candidate that was in Putin's pocket. And after it was discovered was in Putin's pocket, fled to Moscow. That's where Manafort was doing consulting work there with John Podesta's brother and Tad Devine in the Ukraine for the guy that supports Putin. So now, let's rewind to earlier when I said that Russia has Ukrainian ports closed off, blockaded, and they've captured 3 Ukrainian vessels that have people on them, Ukrainian people. And, you know, Russia is saying that this is just a border issue. Now, you know why they'd say that? Because at the G20, there's going to be another world leader there who has his own border issues, who thinks he has border issues. a guy that would say it's okay for armed soldiers to fire tear gas at women and children who are doing nothing wrong. Of course he's going to sympathize with somebody who says, well, it's a border issue with Ukraine. First of all, it's not a border issue. It's a narrow strait. So you can't, there's no border in the water. Bars. So why would, people say, why would Putin do that now? Well, G20 is this weekend, and, you know, Trump's the kind of guy that lets the Saudi Arabians chop up a journalist. And that's okay. They literally chopped up a journalist. And Trump was like, it's cool, we're selling them arms. Let's forget, Saudi Arabia is the country where 13 of the 15 9/11 hijackers were from. But we're still going to sell them arms. And Russia, who hacked our elections, we're going to let them take these boats. And we're not going to say anything about it. Canceled the Putin meeting at the G20. Canceled all the meetings because Michael Cohen has pleaded guilty. And there's one important thing to know about this. There's Manafort, who is the campaign chair. There's Stone that does the little dirty campaign tricks. Not working for the campaign. There's Flynn, who's the national security advisor, who has pleaded guilty already. Out of all of these people that have pleaded guilty, Rick Gates, Flynn, Papadop, only one of them has tapes. And that one is Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen's got tapes, remember? Lordy, I hope there's tapes. There was! And Michael Cohen's got them. And he's sharing them with prosecutors as we speak. Incredible. And now comes the point where, and I forgot who was saying this the other day on television. Now comes the point where, there was a point in this investigation where I thought that there was a possibility that America could get out of this with Trump resigning, you know? And that Trump can get out of this with Trump resigning. I thought that, no matter what happened, he would just resign, and that would be the end of it. Now, there's so much treason, so much sedition, so much collusion and conspiracy, that this guy has to go to jail. So now, he's so afraid that the only thing he can do is stay in office. And that's dangerous. And that's more dangerous than anything. Because he's going to stay in office, he's going to undermine the rule of law at any point he could. Put in the fake attorney general, interviewing an attorney general that let Jeffrey Epstein off the hook. You got so much corruption. You got a guy that let Scott Pruitt be the EPA chief for that long. You got a guy that frauded his way into being a millionaire. Frauded his way into being a casino Mongol. Bankrupts casinos. Bankrupts casinos. Okay? Now, this is besides... Keep in mind, these are not the only crimes. Trump has had a long history of sexual deviance. And not necessarily with women who are of age. You know what I'm saying? Pedophilia is a thing. That's why there's the Miss Universe pageants. Walking into the locker room. Oh, it's not something I haven't seen before. That's why he jocks his daughter so much. All this sick, perverted stuff. People know about this. And it's only a matter of time before it comes out. So, not if I'm Trump, I'd rather die. But if I'm someone who committed all these crimes, I'd be on the phone with Vladimir Putin, or I'd meet him at the G20, I'd say, listen, I'm coming back with you. Because if not, I'm going to jail. So you and the Saudi Crown Prince and Vladimir Putin can jump in a plane and go to Moscow and hide for the rest of your life. This is not, oh, I'm a liberal, that's why I don't like this. This is dangerous for our country. This is democracy. And Russia's done this in other countries. They did this in Georgia. Not the state, the country. Tried to do it in the Ukraine. Now, the Ukraine is under martial law because their ships got taken. And the Russian propaganda coming out of that is, oh, well, Timchenko called for martial law because the election's coming up. And the polls are tight. Or ships just got captured and ports are closed. And Trump's already canceled most of his meetings with world leaders at the G20 because he's going to sit in his room and he's going to cry and he's going to wonder, he's going to tweet. And he's going to wonder exactly when his namesake is going to prison. And exactly for how long. Or he has to wonder if his namesake is going to turn on him. Because if I was Don Jr., I'm a young guy. Not a young guy, but I'm not 80 years old. I would be like, listen, you give me immunity, I'll tell you everything you need to know. It's going to be a wild couple of weeks. It's wild. It continues to get wild. And we need to just strap in and take note. And listen, I know there's a lot going on. But it's important for you to not blank it out. You know what I'm saying? Don't stop thinking about it. Because at the end of all of this, at the end of the road, Robert Mueller is going to deliver to us a basket of joy. I'm Jay Porks. This is Dyze in your house.